WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And once you hear us, it'll leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in, and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about here sometimes will get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay so you
Welcome back to another edition of the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, BAN, and welcome back to the show. Well, we got a lot to talk about this week. Big topic that we want to talk about, and I'm glad to be joined remotely by my brother, Mark. Mark, it's good to have you back in on the show. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of things to cover. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Always a pleasure to be back on Grown Man Podcast. And, expressing our ideas and thoughts about what's going on around the world and around the community and to be a community with you. And as we navigate through this crazy society.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Because as I talked about before, everything we talk about here on the Grown Men Podcast, it is what all grown men should be talking about everywhere. A lot of different topics, as I said, we're going to talk about. And this week, what we want to talk about is the greed of a nation. And that means a nation of us, when we look around, we see a lot of greed going on everywhere, whether it be in the corporate world or in our neighborhoods. So, Mark, enlighten us a little bit about what you think about the greed of this nation that we live in, and that is the United States of America right now.
Well, I had many thoughts on that. I was thinking to myself as things have changed, like throughout the, history of time from what we, I didn't want to even put it like that to where we started and, all this, but it's like pretty much to say, is it all about the bag? It seems like, we only value life based on a bank account and perceived power, or at least what we have control of. Whether it's political or household, people, we used to have those terms I'm the king of my castle. My castle is my crib, it's my household, my kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically I see it as society, and which really affects a lot of problems and issues that we face today, because we have become a little bit more selfish and more greedy. It's we want to have it and we don't want to share.
Right.
It leads to as far as in the political world, it leads to you giving power to the wrong people who's very irresponsible with that power. It leads to you making certain kind of life choices in life that really doesn't benefit your community, or it may benefit you. You may get a payday, and it pretty much kills the empathy for other people, where you're not concerned about other people's issues unless it happens to you when you in that situation. It's just a lot to it. It's probably a lot to unpack I don't mean to be like, speaking in riddles to be vague about it, but yeah, bottom line is, as you said, is the greed of a nation. Like, when, like, how can one, call themselves a nation if you are pretty much slaves to being greedy? So
Well,
like, I mean, it's a like individual act. Like you pretty much only care about yourself. So it's like you're not really part of a nation. Think about it.
well, when you think about this country, and I'm speaking the United States right now, we know that capitalism is what rules in this country. And everybody seems to want to be a capitalist, whether you're on the smallest level or you're on the largest pay scale. It doesn't matter. It's always about what you just said earlier, which is chasing that bag. And chasing that bag entails stepping on other people. And that's what's often done. And it's the people on the lower level who usually suffer the most from this.
But we was taught. I mean, we've been taught. I mean, throughout our whole life. That sound a little bit country and south right there. We's been, but no, we have we have been taught pretty much throughout. And pretty much for me personally, like my whole lifetime is about like securing that bag, getting money, getting paid, making money. I mean, it's in our music, it's in the TV shows that we watch, it's in our the people that we look up to. We always glorify people that get money and put them up on the pedestal, very special. Like I was looking at something on social media. They was showing the different life stages of one Michael J. Jordan, Jeffrey Jordan, if you will. For those you don't know, that was a Chicago Bulls legend. I mean, he's kind of a big deal. He got his own shoe and all that kind of stuff. But Michael Jordan, they was going off the different stages and stuff, like showing from when he was a young kid to high school to college and all that. And under each tagline, they was showing his value at that time, like when he was pretty much from 6 to 16 years old, like he had $0. Then when he got to the college level, I think he was $200K into the pros and so on. To now he's worth, I think it's like $3 billion or something like that. And, I say that to show that that's what we most proud of, seeing people that we admire, whether it be in sports or movies or anything, is like that guy got some money, we're really happy about that, with seeing his financial success. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great to see, somebody like a Michael Jordan, a kid who was born in New York. Forgive me, I forget which exact town or state or whatever, but and he, made his way to North Carolina, all that kind of stuff, pretty much a rags to riches type of story, right? But it's like he's more celebrated about his value and how much money he's worth now. And we don't really, care to know, how many people he's helping with his money, anything like that. You don't see anybody talk about the donations or the James Jordan Boys and Girls Club that he has started up under his late father James Jordan. Right. We don't talk about his donations and things to those nations, but we talk about that bag though, and that's the whole thing where we find ourselves, I believe, stuck in society, is thinking the only thing that you should be trying to do is get paid. Right. It's what happens after you get paid? You just keep buying a whole bunch of stuff that you really don't need, and you pretty much become a slave to to the bag. You become a slave to it. You just chasing money. You get things that you really don't need, but you want other people to see you with these things, but they can have more, respect for you, but you can get more praise because of stuff that you have that you don't really need, but you got it. So yes, bow down to me because I'm better than you, and you should be trying to get, and on it goes.
Well, I look at it like this from my standpoint, and when I look at greed, I often think greed are things we want, but we really don't need, because there are a lot of things we see, right? Especially like for myself. When I was younger, yeah, there was a lot of different things that I wanted. But at the end of the day, as I got older, I got out of that. But see, some people have become so entangled with having that bag that they've forgotten who they are. And they're clout chasing and they're doing everything under the sun to have as much as they possibly want to have. They don't need it, but they want it. Because I look at the end of the day, Mark, how much money do we really need?
That's the question that you asking me.
Yeah,
how much do we really need?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I mean, it was again. I mean, like, for me, like, it all depends on, like, what I'm saying, what's your lifestyle? I mean, because, like, really, you don't. Well, unfortunately, in the society that we live in, I mean, money can be used for goods and services. So yeah, we know that. I mean, we get that. But I mean, it's the whole thing. Like, we really honestly don't need a whole lot of money, or we should, or matter of fact, let me put it like this: we shouldn't need a whole lot of money. Like, why do the cost of living have to keep on going up? I mean, I recall the time where water used to be free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay for water.
Absolutely.
Anywhere you go to,
Absolutely.
And I mean, you go to the movie theater, you go see a movie, ask for some water. Oh, that's like, $3 or $5 now.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's my whole thing. Like they kind of like trap us in this system.
They're basically charging you for convenience. It's like going anywhere. If you're not really buying anything, they look at it like, well, I'm giving you something for free. I mean, whatever happened to being courteous? See, that's gone out of the window as well.
Oh, yeah. That's gone. That's long gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, going back to your question once again, like, I mean, you should basically be able to, like, live a comfortable life. Like if you go to school, or not even if you go to school, if you work a job, if you say that you're working one of those good jobs or whatever, I don't know what's a good black folk job, a factory job or something. Say that you work in some kind of plant where you're making car parts and stuff like that. I mean, you probably can make somewhere between 45 and 80K a year. I mean, that should be like enough to, like, to be able to have a house, to be able to, like, have a car, be able to have things, basic things and stuff that you need. You can pay for your, like, groceries and all that kind of stuff. You can have health care and all those type of things. But again, they keep on moving the needle, inflation and all this adjustments and, times have changed now. Like, I mean, it really makes no sense. You think about it, and we caught up in the game, as you said, capitalism. I mean, that's the whole game of it. Like, where, like, things that used to be enough, like, if you like look at how people, live back in the 40s and 50s compared to right now, it's like, they didn't need a whole lot to live a comfortable life and to be happy. Like, people was happy just having, like, they family, being there, do things and all that kind of stuff. But again, I mean, once we fall into the whole trap of society to make us feel less, because, like, we can't go and spend like $20,000 to go watch the damn Lakers play basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And the term greedflation, which always comes up, and I'm looking at something right here as I'm scrolling. The relationship between greed and inflation, often referred to as greedflation, suggests that corporate greed may contribute to rising prices, but traditional economic factors also play a significant role. Now, several people have an argument on both sides of this. One side says that yes, corporations, companies often take advantage of the downturns in the economy and things like that to run their prices up, so that when the feeling is good again and people are out spending, they can bring those prices down and they pass them off to the consumer as a great sale, when people who have been buying this same item has said, look, this is the price that this item originally was. And that's how they factor all of these things in. You know, it's a lot of economic factors behind it, but basically they try to boost up prices during times like COVID and different things that are going on in the country. And then they'll say, oh, we got a deal or some kind of sale, or they're dropping the prices. No, this is where it always should have been in the first place. What do you say?
I I completely agree. Like it's like, again, like that's pretty much the whole game that we get caught up into. I mean, it's like, the system is rigged. I believe like, some people know that, but not everybody may not get it. You know, whoever's like listening to this program that's out there, I don't know, like the like age range, the age range of like all of our listeners and whatnot. But it's like, you know, again, like it's something that's being programmed into our brain and causes us to, want to react a certain kind of way. Like if you take certain people, like those, what's the word I want to say? Because I was gonna say like Amish people who kind of like live in their own kind of world, and they build everything. But just take like a person that lives in like rural America, like out in the South or whatever, like away from like that big city living, and they work on a farm, they grow a farm, they grow their own food. They're not looking to like wear like the nicest clothes or have jewelry and none of that. They just like like living a basic life. And they can be very, very comfortable in that environment. And it's not to say there's nothing wrong with like, having things and wanting to have some stuff. But it's like once you take it to the level where it's like, when it becomes a necessity, when it's really not. The basic things that like I believe that people need to live, you need to have education, you need to have some kind of health care in case something happens to you. And that don't matter how old you are, because like a lot of young people, always tend to believe like they don't need to worry about health care. You never know when anything might happen, get into a car accident, something can happen at your job or whatever. You slip and fall and hit your head, like anything can happen. It don't necessarily have to be like, catching some kind of disease or like, getting cancer or anything like that. But you want to have the ability to like be able to go to a doctor and, get yourself fixed up.
But when
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, when you're young, you don't think about these things because you're living a different lifestyle. You out here wilding out, you're doing whatever from night to night. So that's not a factor. That's why a lot of them don't have life insurance. And that's why you see a lot of GoFundMe's online. We're not thinking about the future. We're only thinking about the present that we're in. And that's understandable because you're young. However, when you get past the age of 25 and you start getting toward 30, some level of maturity has to set in because you have to start thinking about the future. Otherwise, you won't have one. And if you have created children, neither will they.
Yeah, yes, that's absolutely true. And and that's something like, like you said, when you're young, you definitely think a different way than somebody that's much older. And but again, like even with that, like you should still have the ability, even if you don't sit there and get any kind of insurance, any kind of life insurance or health insurance, like still if you're young and something happens to you, you should still have the ability to like get taken care of without without it pretty much like, you know what I'm saying, like costing you, literally like arm
Right.
and a leg. Like,
Right.
I mean, that's why I look at it because, yeah, I mean, their brains still haven't developed. If you're like 18 years old and you feel you're in the best health of your life, and we just seen like, I mean, like, countless of stories of like, you know what I'm saying, young people dying very young because of health issues, not just like, getting, getting like, shot up or gunned down in the street or,
Right. Right.
anything happen like that, but having health issues and like the young football player, I mean, forgive me because his name escapes my mind, but I remember like, looking at that story, he was a high school football player and he died and, he had from like, heat exhaustion and all that kind of stuff, and he had other issues going on with him that like he may not have been aware of, or maybe he was aware, but just didn't think it was that big of a deal. But there's plenty of situations like that. And again, like those are the things that like, you should have in life. I mean, like, what I'm saying, despite what your bank account is, and now we have it more fixed towards like, if you can have enough money, you can buy yourself out of anything. Like, if you got legal problems, if you got enough money,
Right.
you can pay for that type of stuff. So, which means they give you the man, hey, I can break all kind of laws and do what I want to do because I'm gonna always have money to have legal defense, and that's gonna tie things up in court and things of that nature. Or hey, I can go and do whatever I want to do to my body, like, eat what I want to eat, or like, drink as much as I want to drink and all that kind of stuff, because I can afford to get my name on the top of the list if I need a liver transplant or another kidney or something like that. Like, I mean, that's what it seemed to have become, and it's very unfortunate to me. Because
Well,
once again, like you allow greed, and I mean that's the whole purpose of like, get that bag. For you can feel that you can, if you got enough money, you can buy your way out of anything. You can buy yourself, longevity in life.
well, especially here in the black community, Mark, we feel like money is the only thing. It's the end all be all to anything we'll ever have or anything we'll ever be. And I see it all the time when I hear these celebrities, and I'm speaking of athletes. I'm speaking of, artists, as far as whether they're R&B artists or they're hip hop artists. All I hear is how much money I can get, and that will make a difference. And it's simply not. It's not true at all, because for the simple fact, yes, we may come up economically, but we're still not at that level. And socially, we're still not accepted because we're not in a profession that matters to them in the real world. As I've said before, people will come see you play a sport. They will come see you perform. They will come see you do whatever under the sun. But at the end of the day, they don't respect us as scientists. They won't respect you as a physician. They won't respect you of anything importance in life. So to me, you're nothing but a zoo exhibit, but we out here wilding out and not understanding that while we trying to chase that smaller bag, the people that are on top have that gigantic bag. And that's something that we want to do, but we're never going to get there the way we going because we really don't care. As long as we have more than the next person, that's fine with us.
Well, when it comes to that, like, first, it's about us, like, as far as talking for about black people, it's about us accepting ourselves. And that's the one thing that we have to stop doing is we got to stop chasing the so-called white validation. We got to stop, trying to be accepted into their world. Honestly, like, ever since like pretty much the so-called end of slavery and Reconstruction and all that kind of stuff. And we was pretty much discussing a lot of this last week, but like, yeah, we are baked into this society. This is our home. This is where, like, most of us were born. This the country and all that kind of stuff. But It's because we're born from it. I mean, I guess I'm trying to say like we don't have to. We shouldn't have to like continue continue to try to adapt into their system and to their society, and that's the thing that I would hope at some point we would like more of us will realize because there are a lot of like what I'm saying black people that's more like not trying to. I mean, just pretty much just trying to just like live their life and be what I'm saying, be their whole self without worrying about like what I'm saying, trying to get into like uh the like upper echelons of whiteness and all that kind of stuff. But we still have too many people that sit there and follow the bag and like like you pretty much alluded to, the person who holds the biggest bag is always that white man, and they live their life way more different than we do. But it's again like you should have the mind of wanting to see people that look like you live comfortably and successful. Like success doesn't always have to be measured by the bag. I mean, and in many parts of Africa where like our people originated from, the success was always in like, what are you doing for the community? Like, what is the crop looking like?
Right.
How much are you contributing towards feeding the community? And those are things that we have to get back to, and we can get back to out here. How are you feeding your community with your success? What are you like, what I'm saying, running that ball down the field, or like, doing great strides in the medical field? Like how, what I mean, like how are you helping your people, like, what I'm saying, succeed? And if you're doing healthcare work, if you are an educator, those should be, what I'm saying, careers and jobs that we should like give a lot more glory to than we do.
But see,
But
that's
like even no, go ahead.
But see, that's not a main priority for us, Mark, and that is the problem. That is the issue. The key issue right there is those things aren't priorities for us anymore. They were in the past, but now we're moving beyond that because now with the internet, the age of the internet, and you got these millennials that don't know the history. They don't know how their food is made or processed, and neither do they care as long as they get it. And I see this every day, all the time when I'm walking down the streets or when I engage with younger people and their mentality and what they think and the way they speak. They don't care about any of those things. They're only concerned about what's going on TikTok, on Instagram, and all of this stuff. They need to be more tuned in. And I know we say that there are some that are doing it. There's some that get it. But however, it's not enough. Once again, the ratio of the ones who get it versus the ones that don't get it is in the negative.
I think with something like that, we would definitely have to, like, what I'm saying, look at a statistical facts on that one. I mean, because you got to like look at the like overall like as far as like what I'm saying, speaking on like what I'm saying, black people across the whole country. Because like when you speak of like what I'm saying, like the black youth that like what I'm saying you come across, I mean overall that's a small percent, but what I was gonna say is like with that said though, like I mean, well, just going back to what you said, like how they don't know the history and all that kind of stuff is like like Malcolm, like brother Malcolm once said, like who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught these kids these values or lack of value? And that's where you gotta look at going back to the household, like what I'm saying, going back to community. How are they taught not to care about these things, not to care about history? Why don't they know history?
Well, it's the same thing you and I talked about, right? You knew how we grew up. we grew up, those kind of things weren't talked about in our household. However, we were smart enough to know that we can accumulate that knowledge of self that we needed. Now, at the time when I was a teenager, did I have that full knowledge of self? No. Will I ever have the full knowledge of myself? No. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep trying. That doesn't mean I'm not going to keep asking questions. The day you stop learning, you stop living. So I learn something all the time, and see with the younger crop, what I'm saying right now, they can be very smart. They have a lot of advantages that we didn't have. I just see a lot of them wasting it, doing nothing, things that are not important, meaningless things. Like you see people who know how to program things that they can get people's cars and take off with them. Why don't you use that to help someone? Why don't you use that knowledge and that ability to help someone instead of hurt people who don't have much in the first place?
But the thing why I would push back against that would be like to again say like who is who are they around that's pushing them to do those things, to learn more, to want to do more. Like when we all start off, as babies and kids and stuff, like we really don't know any better than that. And that's kind of like, as to like the greater problem is like, they lack the fundamentals or they lack the people around them to teach them the basic fundamentals.
Well, what I say is, and I look at it like this, and I've talked about this several times. When you took guys coming up in the neighborhood, when it was me, Still, and Jay, as I've said previously before, on the podcast and off the podcast, all three of us, when we were together, held each other accountable. The problem is now is when you have a group of guys and one wants to do something foolish, then the other one's going to automatically follow. There's no let's not do this discussion at all. That's where the problem lies. Because when we were coming up, we were held accountable for what we did to each other. Still would say, man, I don't think you want to do that. That's not a move to do. Or Jay would say it, or I would say it. Somebody would say it to keep us from going off that bridge, to do something that we couldn't come back from.
But again, that's a lack of being in community with like one another. I mean, what I'm saying, you guys coming up, you guys was in community with like one another. You had like some basic fundamentals. I mean, yeah, people did like, wild out and crazy stuff. I mean, but it's like, most times, back in the day and stuff, like, you knew who the person was that was on drugs, that was like, going crazy, and like, people, took the time and spent, I took the time to try to do something about that, to try to like, to address that person one way or another, whether it was like, verbal communication or physical communication. Like, basically, like you didn't sit there and if you knew somebody was sitting there, messing with kids, touching them, all that kind of stuff inappropriately, like, usually the community or people in the community will come together and try to do something about that.
Right.
And it is again a lack of guidance, and like, the way, like, society is pretty much designed, taking away those, like, older people on the block that did do better, that did know better. But they was doing like a little bit of dirt. Like, like you say me all the time. Like, they back in the day, the people who was like, slanging in the hood, dealing drugs, what have you, wasn't like, so much encouraged, and like, like the youngest to be doing it. And if they seen them like cutting class and things like that, they would like, force them to go to school and, like pretty much like, do the right thing. Like they didn't want them out there on the block like that. They was trying more like, protect them.
Exactly. And those are some things I'm going to speak about in later podcasts, because I'm going to get into that. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I'll call it growing up Inglewood. And that's something I'm going to get into, but I want everybody in on that one. So it's going to be an interesting topic. But to go back on what you just said, you're 100% correct. There aren't people to say that anymore. And I'm one of those people that I feel I'm guilty of that myself because I don't say anything. But at the end of the day, the reason I don't is because I have to preserve my family. Now, if it was just me, I would speak up and say, hey, I don't want you doing this out here. Whether for whatever reason, don't do it. But, you know, I've backed up on that because I have a family. So I have to look out for their best interest before I look over what I really want to do. But at the end of...
But there are like other things that we can do. I ain't want to cut you off, but there are other things that we can do that, like, I mean, don't like, you know what I'm saying, necessarily, like, you know, just like, you know, you like personally, like, you know what I'm saying, running up on somebody. Because let's just face it, like, we can't just, like, you know, run up on like any random kid in the street, because I mean, you never know what libel, or what could happen. I mean, that's just reality of the situation. I mean, we know that it's very easy to get firearms, or very easy for, like, you know, bad things to happen real quickly. But, like, I mean, things that we can do, I mean, and that's going back into, like, you know what I'm saying, the politics of the whole thing. Like, who are we putting in like political office? Like, you know, from your mayors to your aldermans to like city council and all those kind of things, putting people who's actually trying to put programs into the city, trying to put more money into the public school and everything else to give kids more things to do. Because, I mean, when you and I was growing up, I think more so with you and stuff, you guys had that field house. We had the field house, but then it started to, like, you know, reduce the time that we could be in the field house or whatever the case. Then it started to become a money thing when you got to pay membership, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Because
just like I was saying earlier about the Boys and Girls Club and like the James Jordan Boys and Girls Club, those are programs that still out there, but it's not pushed as much as it used to be 20 years ago. But so I say all that to say, like, you can, like, you know, we as a society can make smarter choices by, like, getting involved in, like, you know, school board committees and meetings and all that kind of stuff to try to improve the community, the neighborhood overall. Where, like, yeah, you don't have to sit there and be like a Curtis Sweetwater and start a Guardian Angels and walk around the community and get shot up by the mafia or nothing like that. But, you know, if you can, like, get the right people in power to, like, try to put it in the right type of programs for these communities to do better. I mean, those are things that's very possibly, realistically, that can happen.
Well, on the financial side, that's the part that hits the most, because that is the thing that we are speaking about, you know, as far as being greedy. And when I looked at it, like what you were talking about with the field houses, they started charging because the city had cut the funding. So there were big issues with raising money in order to keep these places open. That's what started happening. And all that happened because, once again, the greediness of politics. And when you put politicians in place, and some of them, you know, let's talk about it, because some of them go in, right, with this mentality that I'm going to help a bunch of people. And then they run into these walls. And that's what I've always said about being a politician and why I couldn't do it. Because I can't promise somebody something that I know I'm probably not going to be able to keep that promise. Because a lot of these politicians go in, right? They're bright-eyed, big ideas. They want to change the world. And then all of a sudden they become another cog in the system. And what happens to that is, like you talked about several times, you know, where once again, the politicians accepting money from these billion-dollar donors and different things of that nature, these corporations and things like that. And when people start seeing that money, they forget about the principle, the core values that drove them to run for public office in the first place. What do you say?
I mean, it's that bag. I mean, what exactly what. I mean, just to bring it back full circle once again. I mean, I might say like the politics have changed like drastically. I think in the last 30, 40 years. Honestly, like, cause it's like a lot of people. Well, I mean, I'm sure there are like a lot of people that like aspire to be politicians, but they don't get the correct amount of support behind you, and that's the thing. Because I mean, just like with anything, I mean, individuals cannot beat institutions. I mean, you have to like, what I'm saying, become a part of something, come together to be a part of something, and like, a lot of these programs like the D triple C's and all that. They're very selective on who they what I'm saying, led into the club basically. But yes, absolutely, like a lot of politicians do end up getting seduced by that bag, by that big donor money, and then that's who they become beholden to, is the donors, not necessarily the people, not necessarily the community. But it's so much nuance with that, because it takes like more of us to be more like in tune with what's going on with politics, and to like really be paying more attention besides from what we see in like ads and on commercials when people are running for like elections. But I mean, that's pretty much a big part of it, is like we have to like use our power of the vote, and then it doesn't stop with just like, okay, I voted, now I'm done. No, you gotta stay involved. We gotta watch these people and what they doing and how they moving. And when they're not moving in the right direction, we have to definitely hold their feet to the fire. We got to check them, and we got to get them out of office if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely, I agree. They should be held accountable. That's my whole argument. Is what it's always been about, right? When people say, "Well, I don't get involved in politics," and we've discussed this several times, so I'm not going to beat that dead horse. You've said it, I've said it. And the whole point about it is, the way I look at it is, when it's set up and these politicians are elected, people are expecting you to deliver on the things you campaigned on. If you can't do something, don't say you can just to get a vote. And like you just said a minute ago, and I agree with you 100% on that one as well, we can't elect officials and then walk away and say everything's great, right? It's like, right now, we were going through the government shutdown, and now that it's ended, and I heard people talking and saying, "Oh, thank God it's ended and we can get our SNAP benefits." Yeah, but you're not looking at the bigger picture. See, and I know it doesn't matter, because it's only like what they said, 6%, I believe, was the statistic of the people that's going to be cut off, or their health care is going to get increased and get higher, their premiums. So
everybody else good going up.
But that's the whole point, is that they're not looking at the bigger picture. They're saying, I got SNAP benefits back. I heard somebody tell me that today. Like, people were talking about, yeah, I'm glad my SNAP benefits are back. Yeah, but if you get sick or get injured and you look to go to a hospital, then you're going to have a stack of bills. But of course, a lot of us don't care because we don't pay them anyway. So,
but that's the whole thing about it, though. Is like, we are like, too many of us are like, misinformed and like uninformed, and that's why it was really disappointing by those by those hateful 8 Democrats that sit there and sold us out, including your boy Big Dick Durbin, because Big Dick know he's on his way out.
Well, Dick Durbin's on his way out. He's on his way out, and he's tired, and he doesn't have any fight left in him. That's just that.
Right, and like, he never wanted to fight in the first place. And that's the thing about with these, like, with these Democrats, these this like establishment Democratic leadership, especially in the Senate, because the Senate, they're like U.S. Senate is, all they want to do is like, preserve the institution. They really don't want to like, you know what I'm saying, really don't want to fight for anything or anything like that. That's why they was, like, you know, a lot of them got scared about, like, Trump trying to force the damn Republicans to get rid of that filibuster. Because, like, both sides, Republicans and Democrats, they love that filibuster in place because they always can use that as an excuse not to get things done.
Right.
They don't have to put their name on anything. They don't have to, like, you know, put their vote in public when it comes to, like, that. Well, you know, yeah, you know, we would love to do all these things that we said we was going to do, but, you know, we need 60 senators. That's all garbage. Like, I mean, that would have been the best case scenario if Trump would have forced the Republicans to, like, get rid of the filibuster, and that way more people would, like, open their eyes. I mean, which a lot of people are. I mean, yeah, I mean, the Democrats, they did the job again. But however, I mean, between the, like, Epstein files and between the, like, economy overall, I mean, it's really not like a good story for, like, these so-called Republicans or really MAGA. I don't know whatever they want to call themselves. I mean, they're not doing too well. They already got the MAGA civil war going on with a whole lot of issues from, like, Israel to, like, Epstein and everything in between. So, I mean, you know, this is a time, though, that, like, I hope that more of us really get involved and will pay, like, a little bit more attention to what's going on in the political world to try to get more better people in. That's just not just to say, like, okay, yeah, go ahead, vote for the Democrats. Okay, sure, vote for them because, you know, they're better than, like, the Republicans, sure, but, you know, you don't want to just keep on voting for, like, the lesser of two evils. You have a chance to primary a whole lot of people and to get a whole lot of better people in, get a whole lot of younger people in, because, I mean, let's face it, some of these dinosaurs need to go ahead and lay down somewhere. Go and sit down somewhere. It's long past time. But, yeah, I mean, with all that said, like, yeah, I would definitely be looking more, paying attention more to, like, you know, where they getting their campaign money from. You know what I'm saying? Who are they donors? Because that's the thing about it. Like, you know, I would love to see big money out of politics. And I love to see politicians go back to doing what they had to do. That means get in the street with the people, like
Exactly.
Zoran Mondani did.
Well, that's what I was just
And
gonna.
Jefferson.
I was just gonna bring up Mondami because I wanted to ask you how many more of him you think are going to be elected, and do you think he'll be able to avoid the greed, the big bag that'll be offered to him, as well as other politicians? You know, because that's what it's all about. It's about that greed, the greed of a nation. That's exactly what we're talking about. So how can these politicians avoid those pitfalls? How can they not get that crusty syndrome where their hair doesn't pop up every time someone offers them something for free, right? I mean, you know.
Well, the thing about it is that the best thing about this Trump era is that he exposed a whole lot, and whether people paying attention to it or not, they're definitely feeling the effects of it in their bank account and in their health care and all those type of things that they push this thing so much that they're gonna break it. It's gonna break. It's gonna fall apart. I mean, and that's going all the way up to talking about capitalism, because it become a point where people are tired of the same old, and, like, you know, the bare minimum is just not accepted anymore. Mayor-elect Mondani, I mean, he seems like a person that's very, very genuine. Like, he believes what he says. He says what he means and means what he says. Type of guy. I mean, he's 33 years old,
Right.
So he's still very young.
Right.
I mean, and I'm quite sure they're gonna try. I mean, they already have tried him, but I mean, you know, he became the mayor of the city of New York. That's not to say, like, you know, the, like, whole country. So, like, he's focused on that particular city in that particular area. So, I mean, you know, he has a long ways to go as far as to get his policies push past, and we're gonna see. I mean, he got Lena Khan a part of his team, which is she's a woman that's favorable by like a lot of people,
Right.
because she's a person that's like about like humanity first type of person, as far as like not like really allowing the like big business just to run rush shot. But I mean, only time would tell. Like, I mean, how he behaves as a mayor and how he pushes to get things to go. And as far as like other people coming up, I mean, there are people that's out there, but they gotta get put on. They gotta get more like attention. Like the one thing about him, like he's very charismatic, because you have a lot of like what I'm saying, so-called progressives and so-called socialists that are out there, but they're not as outspoken as he is. They don't have the charisma. And I mean, let's face it, you gotta be able to talk to the people. You know what I'm saying, to get yourself over. I mean, it's just like in wrestling, or just like wrestling used to be. Our wrestling, not today's wrestling, but when you had to, you have to have a good talker, somebody that can come across and tell a story and that can sell a story. He can do that. There are like other people that can't do it as well, but they're very like talented and smart. I mean, and I just think that like people who are like really in tune with voting and stuff, I mean, they're gonna like try to like look for more people, like maybe if they're not that good of a speaker, but like look into what they actually do. Jasmine Crockett is somebody too that's a very good speaker, that's very charismatic and all of that. She don't call herself a progressive or a socialist, nothing like that, but the things that she talk about is relatable for like everybody. I mean, you can like sit there and think that she's leans more towards the like the progressive side. Like I don't know who all she fundraises with, but I know that she's somebody that definitely does draw money. Other Democrats has used her in the past to help them fundraise. I mean, she was part of Kamala Harris' campaign team, and she did a lot of good work there. So, I mean, again, I mean, it's up to the people to like get past all the noise and to really take a look at people who's like being real. Like, I mean, if they're not that outspoken, I mean, that shouldn't be held too much against them. But I mean, like, yeah, the squeaky wheel usually gets the oil, right?
Right. Well, I look at it like this from a standpoint of, look, I think that there are a lot of viable people out there. There are a lot of viable, politicians that can assume the role of the progressive wing. But as you said, they can't get their voice out there because they don't have the staff to do it. They don't have the legwork to do it. Where these big donors that give in to these politicians and these candidates that are coming up, it's so hard to compete with that, Mark. And I know everybody want to go back to what Barack Obama did. But then again, at the end of the day, once Barack Obama caught on, then he did get that help. You see what I'm saying? They did give him that money. Those big donors did kick in. So that's the point, is that it's hard for a small time politician to do that. However,
you got to want to do it.
Yeah, you got to want to do it. And you have to start on the lower level. You just can't jump on the scene and say, I'm going to be a congressman or I'm going to be a senator. You got to start in your neighborhood. First, you work your way up as a community leader. Then you become an alderman. And then
you got to force yourself up there. Yeah, I mean, because because Obama is a good example. Just like Madani, he was polling at 1%. And that's something right there that was very special, that he went from 1% to winning the Democratic primary, then winning the general election.
Right.
He had no chance. Just like Obama, it wasn't his turn. That was all set up for Hillary to she was the chosen one.
Right.
That's the one that everybody wanted, but it was the people that put Obama over, and he knew to do the right things. He was was in community. He was like, moving around and like getting himself over and stuff. And like a lot of people, that's what a lot of people can do instead of just like just trying to like get that like quick like corporation to like endorse you or to like what I'm saying, give you a bag or whatever. It takes putting in the work. It's taking building a team. President Obama was a community organizer. I mean, so that's why he was already already in tune on what to do on that level as far as those grassroots organization goes, like getting like putting boots on the ground and all that kind of stuff, going door to door, canvassing, being in community, talking to people, and that takes a lot of time and like effort. So I mean, when you have politicians that's actually willing to go out there and like what I'm saying, talk to you about what you want to talk about instead of like telling you what you should do, but actually like asking you like how do you feel about this? That goes a long way.
Absolutely. And I think also sometimes when the politicians go and talk to people, as you said, a lot of the constituents like to see that you're listening by using part of their idea in an agenda you're trying to get across. If people see you're doing that, they can actually tell their friends, look, I had a conversation with him. I suggested this, and he actually tried to get that done. People will respect you. I know I would. If I told a politician something and they went out and they did exactly that thing, or, not exactly, but what I mean is something similar to what I suggested to them. If they go and implement that would put me on cloud 9 if I'm a citizen.
I mean, absolutely. Instead of like, making up characters the way that Trump does, or like Chuck Schumer does, excuse me, whatever. Old Chuck does and stuff when he has these fictional characters that he brings up from time to time when he's telling a story about something. I mean, that was something I thought that was that's pretty funny. He made up like suburban married couple in his mind, and it came out like at least in like social media that was all fictional. I mean,
well, that they all get fed a script, because I'm gonna tell you something. I didn't heard Hakeem Jeffries use the same script. He was on 3 different shows, and he used the same script when he said middle class, Black and Latino, and it was like the same script that he's using, and it's like, man, I like you, but come on, bro. I'm like, I'm like, I like you, but I'm like, come on, bro. You using the same script, man. I'm listening to you say the exact same words verbatim.
And that's why I stopped liking him. And I'm so over Hakeem, and I hope he gets primary, because I'm tired of this guy coming out here with these 1990 raps and stuff like that, and he allows himself to get clowned. And that's the thing that's most disappointing to me. I mean, is this current administration that's in power. I mean, I don't call him president, but I call him a criminal, because he is a convicted felon. Hakeem allows this guy to roast him all the time. They just sit there and clown this guy. They sit there and put the pictures with him wearing the damn sombreros and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, sir, that's a black man.
Right.
How dare you?
Right.
I mean, it's like you have no real pushback. You're just saying, like, you're just going off the same script, just saying the same things, and those words are very shallow. He do a whole lot of word salad. He does a whole lot of double talk and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he is definitely no Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
And that's saying a lot, because I mean, I never cared much for Nancy Pelosi, but you have respect for her as a leader because she kept her house in check.
Right.
I mean, she knew how to wield her power.
Right.
And Hakeem Jeffries is just not there. Like, I mean, if it was the situation where everybody thought it was gonna be when President Biden was riding high, I mean, in 22, like, they didn't lose a lot of seats that they thought they was gonna lose and all of that. You know, they didn't pretty much like foresee Trump being back in office.
Right.
And like you know what I'm saying, Hakeem was prepared to take over the mantle, but now he's been exposed as a weak fighter. He looks very weak. He looks very lame. It's embarrassing to me personally. I mean, you know, with this guy, man, because it's like he has no kind of fight. I mean, he's institutionalist. He's just trying to keep the institution together, just like you know Chuck Schumer. Excuse me, but you know Chuck Schumer's even worse, far more worse. I mean, he needs to step down as the leadership role. He needs to be voted out, and then you know I heard people on like MSNBC. They're like, yeah, you know, people mad at him, but you know, I mean, who you gonna replace him with? I mean, I would say anybody. I mean,
Well,
Chris Murphy looks pretty good. Like, I mean,
I watched the great Lawrence O'Donnell. That was your mother's favorite guy. She called him Smiling Face. And Smiling Face had some interesting things that swayed me on what he was saying, because he spoke and he was saying, yeah, a lot of people were in uproar to get rid of Chuck Schumer. But he was like, at the same time, you have to look, no party dealing in the minority has ever won anything. The whole point is that some of the concessions that were made by the Republican Party, they were the party in control. They could have easily said, if we want this budget passed, it'll get passed. They could have overrode the Democrats. See some of the things he talks about, because he personally worked in the Senate and he knows how that works. He was a staffer and he wrote speeches and he did different things for some of the senators. So he's been in politics, and he was like, you have to understand how the machine works, and a lot of people don't. And they were in an uproar and said that those eight Senate Democrats that voted for that, people had to look at, they were serving their constituency. They weren't serving their party. And that's what they did. They went off of what their people told them to do, because they would end up eventually losing their job. So that's the way it works. When it comes to politics, we're talking about it right now, there's greed there too, because people don't want to lose the jobs or the donors. They don't want to lose both. So they're going to, at the end of the day, if their constituents say, we want this thing to end, and if you don't vote for it, the next time you come up, we won't vote for you. And some of that was put on a lot of them. So those are things that we don't know behind the scenes, but quite obviously that's what goes on in politics.
I agree with that. I mean, but the big problem is that like two of those senators who voted with the Republicans are retiring, and I think the rest of them are not up for like re-election, a re-election, until 2028.
Right.
Which means they figure that people would have been long forgotten about what happened by then. I mean, that was all orchestrated, and that was all orchestrated by Chuck Schumer.
I know that
who did not vote with the Republicans, but he knew. I mean, the thing was like they just had that big Democratic victory a couple weeks ago, and all that kind of stuff. They was winning this shutdown, and that's the whole thing that pisses a lot of people off and stuff, because they really didn't want to do the shutdown. They didn't want to do it 8 weeks ago.
Because I'm looking at it from this standpoint, Mark. The Democratic Party always prides itself on the Latino and the black vote. And let's face it, we talked about it earlier. A lot of us as black Americans don't pay attention to it and until something like this happens, because it affects them personally. And then they won't go out and vote at all. And they're looking at that like, yeah, if we don't get those votes, we're going to be in a world of trouble. A lot of them looked at that too, because they had their constituents from their districts calling them saying, look, we need to get this government open because I got these kids here and they need to be fed. And I'm a voter. So if you don't do it, I may not vote for you. So that's on the table too. Now I know you're talking about the one.
Overall, the base wanted them to keep fighting, because the thing about that whole SNAP benefit is that Trump he was forced to have to pay that anyway because a couple judges already ruled against him on that.
Well,
And
see,
then Trump went to like appeal it. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like they have money reserved for SNAP. They could have paid those benefits a couple weeks ago.
we know that, but they're going to always look at it. See, this is the thing. They were the power. They're the party in power. They control the whole thing, but the narrative that they're going to spin, and Fox News will spin it along with them, is that the Democrats shut the government down. And after a while, that's going to stick. I'm telling you, Mark, a lot of people just were not going to continue to go with that. They were going to, eventually that would have turned on the Democratic Party. It would have turned on them.
It made them look bad now for like backing up. I'll tell you why. Because they've been saying that from the beginning. That's why they kept on like flipping they like talking points. Because at first it was like, oh yeah, look, the Democrats, they trying to get like billions of dollars for all these like illegals and this and that. And then they sit there like, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, flip to something else. Like, oh, they trying to get $1 trillion. And all this, they kept on changing their story. They was in panic mode. That's why Trump wanted to like kill the filibuster, because they was losing with their own people, because their own people was saying what was going on in those small broke ass red states, so-called red states, because they was feeling the hurt about on that. I get what you said. But the bottom line is that they, like the Democrats or the ones who didn't really want to have a shutdown at all, Chuck Schumer made sure that they held tight at least until after those elections that happened a couple weeks ago. And then, like, you know, when you have the momentum, because clearly it was a blue wave across the country. Like, everybody went and leaned towards the left. A lot of those elections, like, they was not supposed to win. Like the guy, I think that's in Virginia, who won, who became the Attorney General, who had sent out those text messages that he was.
Yeah. They picked
was,
up
talking about shooting his opponent and all that kind of stuff. Like that would have destroyed anybody's political future, but they still went with him anyway.
Well,
because he said like what we got going on ain't working.
Well, they picked that up, you know, in Virginia, and they also picked up a seat down there in Mississippi that Red has owned forever. So they did pick up some key elements. I just think at the end of the day, they were playing the long game. As far as the Democratic Party, they're playing the long game because they're looking at next year at the midterms, and they want to make sure that they don't upset people who receive SNAP benefits.
They playing the game of we're gonna let Trump hang himself.
Exactly.
And like, frankly, that's not good enough, because that's just gonna because they think that they can go back to, you know, doing the same old and doing like the bare minimum.
Well, that's not. Like, I think some of the people that are there now, like this guy, the new guy who's leading the DNC, I think that he has a different mentality. At least that's the way he speaks. Now, what he does behind the scenes, I have no idea. But he already said that we can't go back to doing that because that got us here in the first place. These were words that came out of his mouth. He said that we can't continue to do the things that we were doing before because they simply did not work. And he's 100% accurate on that. And you have to be more transparent with the people. Don't say you're doing something and then you're not doing it. Say what you're doing and then you do it, as Arn Anderson said. This is what people want to see. They want to see action. They're tired of seeing people make speeches. We're tired of looking at people make speeches. No. We want that help to be right away. Not next week, not next year, right now. That's when we want that change.
Because that's pretty much what led us to Trump in the first place, because he played he played the role as, oh, I'm going to be a disruptor. I'm somebody different. I'm not a politician. I'm not one of the elites and all that kind of stuff. And people bought into that. A lot of people bought in. Yeah, we need to go ahead, like get somebody in there to shake up some things and like, kill the corruption and all that kind of stuff. I mean, little did, like, a lot of people didn't know or didn't care to pay attention to, like, this is the most corrupt emperor in the world. I mean, he was born into corruption, but with these Epstein files again and stuff, I mean, it's exposing that more and more, which is why you kind of seeing like a little like a war, a civil war, like in that camp right now.
Yeah,
and it's like again, like people need more and more people want to see people that's fighting for their needs and their issues, and not trying to worry about saying the wrong thing and stuff like that. Because that's another thing with Trump. He knows how to brand things. He knows how to sell it. It's like you can't keep on going on with this, oh, let me be careful with my words and stuff. I mean, like you just said, say what you're gonna do and then go out and do it. And if it's not getting done, tell the people why it's not getting done. You know why it's not getting done? Because this person is standing in the way, or this person don't want to see you get health care, or this person not trying to raise the minimum wage and all that kind of stuff. This guy got to be moved out the way. And that's what Mr. Mondani has to do over there in New York City. I mean, if he can't get some of his things done, I mean, because the governor do have to sign off on a lot of that in his agenda. And she's running for a re-election. I'm talking about Hochul.
Yeah.
Out there in New York.
Yeah, Trump's lady is going to run against her. Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's kind of, but she still needs to, get people to, turn out for her and all that kind of stuff. And Mr. Mondani has a lot of energy behind him right now. And I mean, it would behoove her to want to try to get some of them people behind her as well. So, but he would definitely have to call her out and challenge her. For not, going along with some of the stuff. If they can't have a working agreement and stuff like that, that needs to be called out. And I think that he's somebody that absolutely would do that.
Yeah, it's one of those situations that we're going to continue to monitor here on the Grown Men Podcast. But give me the way to sum up the greed of a nation, Mark.
Well, I mean, basically to sum it all up is we are in a place that has been pretty much that has been put together to keep us all more and more selfish and thinking about self all the time and wanting to do for self. And you can't worry about your neighbor. That's their problem. Something going on with them, that's their household, that's them over there. And the more we isolate ourselves, we don't look at what the bigger picture is. And it's we're all gonna die. We know that.
Right.
But I feel it used to be a time where you knew that you're gonna die, but you want to die knowing that there's gonna be a future for your offspring.
Right.
Your family and everything else to keep on growing the world, to keep growing and moving forward. And I think a lot of it's becoming more it's a societal problem that we get caught up into what's going on right now. I'm gonna live my life to the fullest until I'm not around no more, and then whatever happens, well, I'll be out of it. So I mean, that doesn't concern me, and that's not necessarily a healthy way to go about it. So when it all just becomes about the bag, I mean, then that's pretty much all you got left is just a bag. I mean, you don't have family, you don't have community, you don't have civilization. I mean, this world is in big trouble right now, and we need more people to come together to realize that we need to do more to grow the community, to keep this thing going, to keep life going. There is life beyond death. You know, I mean, it's just basically saying that we all need to be a little bit more or less selfish and more like in tune to what's going on around our world.
Well, yeah, that's a lot right there to take in. That's a lot of food for thought. And, you know, I'm going to give my conclusion on it. The way I see it is the relationship between greed, inflation is multifaceted. While corporate pricing strategies may contribute to rising costs, traditionally economic factors such as supply and demand, dynamics, and monetary policy are significant drivers of inflation. Understanding that this takes a toll not only financially, but emotionally, because a lot of people don't seem to understand the factors of greed in this country, especially because this is America, United States of America. It's supposed to be the greatest country in the world. And yet there are people who continue to starve. There are people who continue to live at the poverty level. Why is this? It's for the simple fact that we can't decide when enough is enough. That's my plain and simple speak on it. I can get into more technical terms for it, but I'm not going to do it because I think that the people listening understand exactly what I'm talking about and where I'm coming from. If the haves give the have-nots just a little bit, then maybe those have-nots will be able to sustain life and pass it on to the next generation and the generation after that. At least that's how I feel about it. Well, folks, I'm glad you tuned in to listen to the Grown Men Podcast this week. I'm glad my brother Mark came in. Mark, thanks for being with us remotely as always. It's great to have you at the We Rise Nation and to give your take on what's going on. So thanks for being here, Mark.
Always appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, folks, I'm sure between now and next week, we'll have more topics to talk about, more things that are going on in this world. Head on over to WeRiseNation.com. Check out our blogs. Check out anything you might like over there. You may see something interesting that you never saw before. It's a possibility. But head on over there and see what we got and see what we're talking about. Well, until next week, from my brother Mark, I'm BAN, and I will talk to you soon.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud.